New plan, I'm going to shout. Welcome, everyone, to the third grade art contest winners for National Drinking Water Week. This is particularly important in the city of Evanston because you may not realize it, but you're helping to get us $2 million a year in water sales. And I'm hoping that's what we've got so far. And I'm hoping to add at least another $1 million. So we're counting on your art to help us do that. The first winner is Peter Jankowski of St. Athanasius Elementary School, the People's Choice Award. You shake hands with me, and then you get all the loot from him.
You have a plaque with your name on it, certificate there.
Daryl, you got to read it.
Okay, it says City of Evanston.
I don't think it's working.
City of Evanston Drinking Water Week, third grade art contest, People's Choice Award. So we sent out a survey to the community and they voted and selected Peter's artwork. And it's presented to Peter Jankowski, St. Athanasius Elementary School, dated April 24th, 2017, and signed by myself, Daryl A. King, Water Production Bureau Chief.
Okay, Peter, you just have to do one more thing. You have to stand here so everyone can take a picture.
Say, Peter.
He's doing great.
Maybe one without that?
Are you sure you're gonna take your hat off, Peter?
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Put your hat down. There you go.
Great.
When you get famous,
Thank
you got to
you.
order around a lot. I'm sorry, Peter. Part of the job.
Peter, can you say thank you?
Thank you very much for participating.
Awesome. Thank you.
Next is the Mayor's Choice Award, Ryan Hecker, Willard Elementary School. Congratulations, Ryan. I could see it on posters and billboards. It's really going to help our water sales program.
Black Mayor's Choice Award. Again, read that out loud.
Here you go.
So again, City of Evanston Drinking Water Week, third grade art contest, Mayor's Choice Award, presented to Ryan Hecker, Willard Elementary School, dated April 24th, 2017, again signed by myself. Congratulations.
Turn around, face all the cameras. You got it.
Thank you. And the Water Spirit Award, Lucy Marinacci. All right. Marinacci. Come on, Lucy, congratulations.
Here you go. And let me read this one this time. I don't think you read those before. So this time I'm going to read the plaque. It says, Drinking Water Week, third grade art contest, Water Spirit Award, presented to Lucy Marinacci, St. Athanasius Elementary School, April 24th, 2017. Congratulations.
Congratulations. And for all of you who want to see the artwork, it is right here. Congratulations, everyone. We're going to move them out so that everyone who comes to the city council meeting can at least have the fun of seeing these, in case our meeting isn't as fun as watching the art.
Thank you, Mayor.
Excuse me.
What do you want? It's a tray. It's a tray. Thank you. I got it there. Oh, wow.
The only person who saw it when I was out was Uncle Howard. Oh, it is. Thank you.
I mean, last time there were 31 items. When we got out here at 6:45.
He's graduating. Is it Good evening and welcome to the Monday, March 27th, 2017 Administrative and Public Works meeting. Did I say April? All right, let's try that again. Good evening, welcome to the March 27th Administrative and Public Works. Oh, would be helpful to have the right agenda. There you go. Just read whatever you put in front of me. We have a quorum. Is there a motion to approve the April 17th, 2017 minutes? Second? Any comments or changes? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Miller, would you like to take item A1?
Move approval of the payroll from March 20th, 2017 through April 2nd, 2017 in the amount of $2,866,481.58.
Is there a second? Would you like to take item A2 also, Alderman Miller?
And also move approval of the City of Evanston bills through April 25th, 2017 in the amount of $1,345,388.08. And credit card activity for the period ending February 28th, 2017 in the amount of $180,162.25.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second, item A1 and A2. Any questions, comments from the bills list? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing item A1 and A2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Alderman Rainey, item A3.1.
Approval of Divvy Station and Divvy for Every Evanstonian program launch in the amount of $57,600.10. Second. Approval.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have a presentation on this? All right.
Good evening, Chairman Braithwaite, members of the committee, Deputy City Manager Storley. I'm Katie Knapp, Transportation and Mobility Coordinator for the city, and I'm here to provide an update on the city's Divvy program. In 2016, the city installed 10 stations along with 100 bikes in late June and early July. The launch of the Divvy in Evanston was made possible through a state grant from the Illinois Department of Transportation's Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program and support from local sponsors including Northwestern University, Presence St. Francis Hospital, North Shore University Hospital, and Valley Produce. For 2017, the city is on track to raise an additional approximately $125,000 in new station sponsorship and renewal of advertising sponsorship funding. This is not including the potential for additional planned development project benefit agreements. Here on the screen, you'll see a map of the 10 Divvy stations that were installed in 2016, along with the city's existing bike lanes and routes highlighted in blue and green. Through the securement of the ITEP grant, the city received an 80-20 matching grant for the amount of the 8 stations, and through Northwestern University sponsorship, 2 additional stations were added. These 10 stations are currently located at Benson and Church, Chicago and Washington, Elmwood and Austin, Valley Produce at Evanston Plaza, Church and Dodge, Central Street Metro, Central Street Garage Station, Central Avenue and Sheridan Road, as well as by the University Library. In celebrating the arrival of Divvy in Evanston, the city partnered with local businesses, community partners, and event organizers to host special event rides and to integrate Divvy into the city's summer programming. These rides and events included a Bike to Work ride with Rotary International, a Facebook Live tour of the Divvy headquarters, an inaugural ride led by Wheel and Sprocket and local volunteers downtown, as well as staff rides through our Managing to Livability program, a Divvy Valet at Streets Alive, a Divvy Valet at Streets Alive, a temporary station at the community picnic, and an informational table at Bike the Ridge, and also the launch of the purple-wrapped #NUDivvyBike. During the first launch of the NU Divvy bike in November, it traveled over 170 miles and was docked in over 50 unique stations. Divvy riders have the chance to catch the Purple Bike again this spring as it hit the town in April. Northwestern is hosting prizes for those who use and post pictures of the bike using the social media hashtag NUDivvy. And looking now at the Divvy's use over the first 9 months, we can see that over 13,000 trips started from a Divvy station located here in Evanston. We currently have over 940 active annual members located here in Evanston, and over 1,300 24-hour passes were sold here. Approximately 27,000 miles have been traveled here in Evanston, ranging in distances from on average 2 to 4.5 miles and 17 minutes long. To help frame the statistics, the Federal Highway Association says that the average American travels 13,500 miles a year. So in thinking about this, the Evanston Divvy system so far has had the impact in its first 9 months of 2 average Americans going carless for a full year. And in doing so, they burned 1,150,000 calories, so it gives you a little bit of a chance to get ready for the summer, and offset over 18,000 pounds of carbon. And thinking about this, this would be similar to replacing over 300 incandescent lights to LEDs, or one home's total energy use for a full year. In comparing Evanston's system to Oak Park, it's quite helpful as both systems had their stations installed in late June and early July. Oak Park has 13 stations and 207 docks compared to Evanston's 10 stations and 150 docks. So Oak Park system is approximately 40% larger as measured by its docking capacity. In comparing the two systems over the first 6 months of operations, the Evanston system saw 1/3 more trips starting from its stations, as well as greater movement across its border with Chicago than the Oak Park system. Looking ahead now to 2017, staff is proposing that an 11th station be added to the system. The station would be placed in southeastern Evanston to strengthen the emerging ridership corridor along Chicago and Hinman and complete the central square of Divvy stations here in Evanston. The cost of the one 15-dock station and 10 bikes would be $57,600.10. Additionally, staff is proposing to launch the Divvy for Every Evanstonian program, a membership subsidy program to assist community members in accessing additional services and recreational resources through healthy, active modes of transportation. D4EE riders will pay a $5 annual membership fee and any occurring usage fees for a total $94 annual subsidy. In comparison to Chicago's D4E, Divvy for Everyone program, which is in its second year and has currently 900 active riders, Evanston's D4EE program will provide a stable membership rate that is based on a rider's eligibility and will not increase after the first year. Evanston's residents who are currently registered as general assistant clients or who have an annual household income at or below 50% area median income will be eligible for the D4EE program. This membership will be renewed on an annual basis based on the rider's eligibility. Based on current demographics, staff projects to have approximately 200 Divvy for Every Evanstonian riders to sign up in 2017. The riders will have the option to pay both electronically through the Divvy's website as well as through Pay Near Me locations at 7-Eleven stores to allow for cash-based payments.
So can we back up? That sounds very interesting, and I have a couple of quick questions for you. So for the general assistance with Divvy, I thought part of the membership requires that you need a credit card to swipe or keep on file.
Through the D4EE program, we will be able to sort of go past that barrier. The City of Chicago is currently able to do that.
And how does that work?
So that's through signing up the individuals on a paper base. So instead of having their individual's credit card, you'll have their home address and contact information. Additionally, you'll have them sign in paper the ridership agreement. And then for the payments, you then are able to go and receive your bill through the mail and then go to a 7-Eleven store through that Pay Near Me option and pay in cash.
Okay, which sounds like a great idea, and I like that. And so do you know, or do we know by looking at those maps where are the high utilization areas? So we have one, if I wanted to know how many users are at Dempster Dodge and where are they going, Can you track that?
Yes, so we are able to track ridership both through general, so if they are for Evanston riders, or if they are specifically D4EE riders, in this case, it'll be membership based, so we can track that.
Okay. And then, I don't understand, or what's the overall budget in terms of what we've invested, and how close are the revenues to balancing that budget or meeting that budget?
Sure thing. So in 2016, our operational costs were $233,500. And just sort of cutting to the chase, in looking at all the grants, local support, and ridership revenue, we were only off by $2,000 for 2016.
Okay. You've answered my question.
Okay. Something interesting that we've begun to.
I'm sorry. Alderman Miller has a question.
My apologies.
So while we're on statistics, looking at the packet, we had the lowest performing stations are at Elmwood and Austin, Valley Produce, and Dodge and Church, right?
Right.
So the highest performing were basically around Northwestern, right? What's the difference in ridership from the top versus the bottom? Like, can you give an average? What's the difference?
Sure thing. So on average and approximate, it would be a threefold difference between the very top performing station and then the lowest ridership. We expect that may change though with the introduction of the D4EE program and also beginning to move into our first full spring-summer season.
But in terms of like, what's the numbers exactly? So how many are we seeing around Northwestern in a year?
I would unfortunately need to refer back to the data to pull out that annual approximation.
I mean, like, what's an average station? How many riderships do you see?
Sure thing. So for Evanston as a whole, we see about 800 rides per station per year to get kind of a baseline, and then I would have to pull off from that to the top and the bottom to get that full estimate.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
All right. So something that we have begun to find and pull out from the data, being able to look at some of the self-reported ages of the riders. This map was pulled together in partnership with a Northwestern University student team. And what they found in looking at the data is the vast majority of our rides are taken by older adults, specifically those in the 65 to 69-year-old category, followed closely by those 60 to 64-year-old, and then 70 to 77 years old. Only then do you see college students begin to emerge, and this is again the number of rides that are being taken, and we will continue to monitor this in understanding how this works into the city's greater age-friendly and livability programming. And finally,
I'm sorry, Katie. Alderman Rainey has a question.
I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk a bit about the location. And I really did encourage a location around St. Francis since they are a sponsor. But that doesn't seem to be working. And I think probably the reason is because there's no drop-off. But I'm not seeing the Chicago location where you could drop off or pick up a divvy bike going south from that Elmwood location. Do you know where that is?
yes, there are 3 divvy stations located along Howard Street or immediately south of it, primarily between the Howard Street CTA station and then Dodge.
Clark. Okay, but is there one at Clark, like Howard and Clark, someplace around there? Which
There-
would be Chicago Avenue?
There unfortunately is not one right there. There's some
Paulina.
closer.
Is there around Paulina, maybe?
Yes.
Closer to the, so there is one there. Yeah,
There's also one located close to Ridge as well.
yeah. That's interesting, yeah. Okay.
All right, and then the final note is that this is Divvy Week, so for those who have not yet tried Divvy, Divvy is currently offering a special $5 24-hour pass for new riders. Typically, it's just under $10, and as well as for existing members, they are getting buy one, get one deals, and all these deals can be found at divvyweek.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Miller?
So, looking at this, it's kind of hard to figure out any patterns in that sense. But are you, looking at the Northwestern stations and the fact that most of the ridership is older, are we looking at professors commuting into Northwestern? Or are we looking, because and also with 18% not going into the city of Chicago, we literally have an older population that's staying within Evanston that are mostly centered around Northwestern in terms of uses, right? What would you say that ridership is? Are they recreational riding down the lakefront? What are they using Divvy bikes for?
Sure thing. So the vast majority of rides, 75%, are being taken by annual members. And those annual members are averaging distances less than 2 miles per trip. So they tend to be more also taken Monday through Friday during the peak times. So they hint at those commuters.
So it might be people on campus also taking it into downtown Evanston for lunch or for something to effect too. Because what I think, an option we should explore is taking the one by St. Francis and possibly using that instead of buying another one. If the average is 800 rides across the system and we're possibly having less at this one station, maybe we should just readjust the system as opposed to adding another station to it. Because I don't think that's going to increase ridership by putting another one where it's proposed, as opposed to we could just tweak the system as opposed to buying another one.
Or you may want to find out why they're not utilizing it. And do they need to go someplace else in town? Right?
You're saying the Northwestern or St. Francis employees?
It's just a question. I'm looking at the same information, and my curiosity is, why aren't they using it? So for someone who is at Valley, are they not able to connect to someplace else in town? For example, if you have, I don't know we can explore this later, figure out the age breakdown, meaning are residents going from Valley or students going from that part of town to the high school? Are they utilizing that part of town to go downtown? For me, those are the questions that I'm asking, at least.
From my understanding, if the average trip is within a mile or two.
Right.
And most of them are starting around Northwestern. Those are the top three.
Yeah.
Which is over 800 rides, probably closer to 2,000 if it's threefold increase at that point. And they're probably either, if they're older, professors, staff members commuting to Northwestern, or around lunchtime going downtown or other places as well.
Right.
If we're looking at the one on around St. Francis, it's probably not the same population because that's the lowest part of the system right there. So instead of just adding another station, we might want to just consider reconfiguring our lowest ones, performing ones, around to where people are using them. So maybe you'll get Northwestern, that population going further south to Dempster for lunch if there's a station there, as opposed to just building another one.
Would there be?
Alderman Nguyen, I'm sorry, followed by Alderman Holmes.
Well, I think we should examine usage and try and explore and find out why it hasn't been used yet. But it's only 8 months old, and so I think that we need to really let it stay there for at least a year, and then maybe do some promotion within the St. Francis, within the hospital itself. It might be that people don't necessarily, they don't know a safe way to get someplace because they are on Ridge. Maybe they just need to have some better ideas of what would be a safe street nearby to bike on, and before we take it away. Because how many people work at St. Francis? Alderman Rainey, 3,000? Yeah. It would be.
But Alderman Nguyen, it is very convenient to drive your car there because it's free parking and it's right on site. I think that's a disincentive to. But there's a lot of people who live around there, so that's
right. So maybe we should promote it more in the community there in the area before we take it away.
Alderman Holmes.
No, I was just going to echo what Alderman Nguyen was saying. I don't think it has been long enough to pull it. I think it's a great idea, and after, and I don't know what a fair time would be, in terms of really looking to see if it's going to be effective. I think that as long as we're pushing, in our community to have people ride more, that is going to take more marketing on, maybe on our part, to get people involved in it. So I wouldn't pull it now. I'd give it a little bit more time, but I think it's a great idea to look at and maybe, figure out after a certain length of time.
I mean, my thing is, if we're creating a system, we should be examining how the system works before investing more into it, because we could be utilizing resources right now that we don't need to spend. I mean, we don't need to spend $53,000 on a new station if we have ones that aren't working for whatever reason, where we could move those ones that are working somewhere else. And if maybe it takes more work and promotion in that sense, but I think it might be too soon to pull the station, but it's probably too soon to add another station too if we don't know how the system as a whole is working.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, good evening. I think it's important to note, as you look at that orange blob there, the Chicago and Dempster area, I think we really feel it's going to help South Evanston. That those two stations, if you pick up a Divvy bike at St. Francis, you'll now have an easy way to get to Chicago and Dempster. If you want to do some grocery shopping, if you want to patronize the main Dempster Mile shops. So we've looked at it as helping to complete the system. So we really feel that those two South Evanston stations will be energized more by allowing people to go to the Dempster Chicago area to do exactly the things you've all been talking about. So we really think that addition is really going to help energize ridership in the 8th and 9th wards. So I think our recommendation, as it's before you this evening, is to go ahead, add that station. We'll do our best to energize riders in the 8th and 9th ward as part of that larger system again. Because again, it's really citywide, and we want people aren't going to ride from St. Francis to Northwestern, but it's really going to be local within sections of the city. So we really are very excited about that. We really think it helps complete the system rather than trying to make additional adjustments with just several months in. So we would ask the committee to approve the recommendation before you.
Any other questions or comments? Are you finished with your presentation?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. All right. I think it was moved. Alderman Rainey?
Well, when are we going to look at this again? Is there
Time
a
period, yeah.
reevaluation time?
Well, I think, again, we're with the Divvy Week this week. I think the idea is that we're kind of starting the shared ride season in earnest now. I would think to come back at the end of the summer with some good statistics.
End of summer?
I think some of the suggestions tonight about reaching out to St. Francis employees once the Dempster Chicago station's in place, help people understand what they can do with that. So I would hope we could come back in probably September timeframe.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Seeing no other lights, questions, all those in favor of passing item A3.1, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. One no. Okay. Motion carries. Alderman Holmes, item A3.2.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends approval of financial assistance through the Storefront Modernization Program to Vietnam Nam at 618 and a half Church Street in the amount not to exceed $4,053.66 for the installation of signage and awnings.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Seeing no lights, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Nguyen, item A3.3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff recommends the City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with A1 Bus Service in the amount of $38,943.15 for the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Department 2017 Summer Bus Program.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Alderman Miller.
So I don't know who can answer. Maybe Lawrence, you can answer. What happened to the bus we bought with mental health funds?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. That bus is part of our rotation as well. The bid that is currently before you is a reduced price than what we paid last season. We have a schedule of using the bus to transport kids back and forth to Great America as part of the Summer Youth Employment Program. And so we've also supplemented that bus that we acquired last year with some services that's included in this contract.
So tell me about the bus we have. I don't know, I'm looking at this and the schedule is on 115 or so. And is it basically we're using it once a day, give or take? One of the trips, one way there or back or something to that effect?
Yeah, we have a couple buses that will be scheduled to go back and forth to Great America, some through the contractor, and then some that will be utilized through the bus that we acquired last season. We will hire a temporary, a seasonal driver who will drive the bus to and from, and then we got different shifts that we have to transport the kids to and from. So
we're looking at a contract or two contracts, one with A1, one with Alltown, and for about $45,000.
Mm-hmm.
This is in addition to hiring a seasonal employee to basically do some of the trips on our own bus.
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost for us to run the bus, our own bus? Do you know, a year or for the summer?
I don't know the cost of the employee or the fuel cost, but we already own the bus, but we are looking at transport almost 50 kids, hopefully back and forth to Great America this summer, and so some work morning shift, some are working the afternoon shift, some are and so it's the transportation of picking them up and transporting them back is part of, and it's all part of the budget in which we've accounted for this summer's program.
So basically, would you say it's in the same ballpark of the contracts that we're going to pay A1 and Alltown, $25,000?
No, I'm not willing to say that. What I'm saying is, and I can, get you the numbers. I can get you the cost of what it, or the salary of what we pay a seasonal bus driver. Calculate the hours and give you that expense. What I'm trying to share with you is that the contracts that are before you are significantly lower than what we paid last year because we have that bus.
What did we pay last year?
Over $60,000 for transportation.
For 500 kids?
No, for the entire program. The contract is for the entire program.
For 50 kids to go back.
It also included Great America in that last year as well.
Oh, you're saying the whole bus service was $60,000 for the whole program?
So the contract before you is for the entire summer youth employment program, not just Great America.
But I'm looking at page 102, and it's brought out Great America.
Sure.
There's one with A1 bus service for $18,900. There's one with Alltown for $25,000. Right, so that's $45,000.
That's correct.
And that's for half of the time, give or take, looking at the schedule. That's on page, starting at 115. This isn't for every trip to Great America. There's actually delineated how many trips this is going to be.
That's correct.
So we're going to spend even more than this $45,000 in these two contracts to run our own bus for these 50 kids. See, I'm wondering, why don't we buy the Metro passes?
No. I'm not following you when you say we're going to pay more, because even with the salary of a bus driver and our existing contract that's before you, we still won't pay as much as we paid last year.
You're saying we paid $60,000 a year for all transportation?
For all transportation associated with the Summer Youth Employment Program.
Right. But this here, the bid summary on page 102 comes at $45,000 for just Great America. For all of it, for the total program, it's at basically $86,000 almost.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I think what you're looking at is both of the respondents to the RFP, and we're only selecting the first one.
I'm sorry, you're right.
A1
right.
bus
Then you're right.
service.
That's my apologies on that. Right. Okay. My apologies. I misread that. Okay, but we still have, so then that makes more sense, but we still have our own bus to run at some point.
That's correct. We still have the bus that we acquired last year to help supplement the contract.
All right.
We could bring back the cost for the driver and what we think the total.
I'm just wondering, is there a way to do it on Metro?
Well, so Alderman, there are some kids who utilize Metra. Not all the kids are going to use the bus service, but we are trying to make transportation not be a barrier for our students. And so providing this bus service is one option. Some kids are driving. Some kids are catching the Metro, which has a discounted rate associated with it. It's just a matter of whichever means the children choose to utilize to get back and forth. We are making sure that it's not an option so that because we know the jobs are there.
Also, don't forget that part of this issue with the Great America is that there are so many different shifts in terms of where the kids have to work, what they're signed up for, whether it's part-time, full-time, that kind of thing.
Well, Metro runs all day.
Well, and the mayor worked very hard to get a reduced fare on Metro, so we are very much aware of that.
this
But
is-
also, young kids, some of these kids are young. I don't want them necessarily on the Metro at night. And Great America doesn't close until 10, I think it is, or 11.
Yeah, their regular hours are 10 and I think even 11 on the
11
weekend.
o'clock. And it all depends on what they're doing. So I only because I've been to the Youth Services Task Force to listen to the presentation a little bit more in depth, that we understood the necessity of having a bus. And we also talked about, and I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the right pages right now, but we also talked about a small fee so that the kids will know that they do have to pay something for transportation. So they'll be making very nice money at Great America, so they will be paying a small fee as well.
You're going to be doing that as well, Lawrence?
Absolutely. I mean, as the Alderman said, I mean, but we haven't set the rate. We're working with the Youth Services Committee to make up that determination.
Okay. We lost the chairman.
No,
He's on his way back.
he put me in charge while he's gone. So if there are no more, I see no more lights. There are no more questions. It's been moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Can we proceed then on to Alderman Miller with A 3.4?
Move approval with agreement with Crave LLC to operate the concessions at the Evanston Lakefront. And Crave will pay $11,500 for the permit, and the permit revenue was projected at $14,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
I see no lights. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Alderman Rainey? A 3.5.
Right, A 3.5. Hold on a second. All right. This is a contract with Christopher Burke Engineering Limited for a streetlight master plan project in the amount of $146,143.05.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. A 3.6 is the contract extension with Precision Pavement Markings in the amount of $90,000. Move approval.
Second.
Seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Nguyen.
Yes, A 3.7, staff recommends the city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract for the 2017 parking lot improvement project with Builders Paving in the amount of $1,188,000.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Alderman Rainey. I'm sorry, Alderman Miller.
Sure. Move approval of the purchase of tree and planting services from Suburban Tree Consortium contract, and it's for 512 trees and planting services for 350 in the amount of $130,346.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Alderman Rainey, A 3.9.
We're being asked to recommend that the city manager execute a one-year agreement to purchase tires in the amount of $60,000 from Wentworth Tire Service under the state bid contract. I move approval.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Seeing no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, A 3.10 is a renewal of the CAD software license and service agreement with SunGuard Public Sector in the amount of $71,992.80. Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved in second, seeing no lights. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Nguyen.
Yes, item 3.11, staff recommends the city council review this response to the referral from the city council and place this on file. This is the request for the RFP process. I move approval for action to accept and place this on file.
Second. I do.
It's been moved in second. Alderman Miller. I think it's Alderman Miller.
I have some.
Oh, go ahead, it's fine.
You
Alderman
have
Rainey, you can
something
go.
for him?
I wanted to comment
Oh, okay.
on the proposal. Okay. I thought that this was very well laid out, and it might be a very helpful thing to present to the new alderman and to the old alderman also when we do the aldermanic workshop information session, so that people understand in advance of how this works.
I agree.
I thought it was very helpful.
It's very nice. Okay, Alderman Miller?
Thanks, Steph.
So Marty, this came up in, there was concerns from a vendor, or a bidder, I'm sorry, that, about the process. And my question is, we see a lot of the same names. So for example, if it's a traffic project like tonight, we just did the street lighting master plan, we're going to see Christopher Burke Engineering as approval. There's been multiple Christopher Burke contracts. Water contracts are done with CDM Smith. Distribution contracts are MWH. There's a lot with Stanley. We see a lot of the contracts going to the same bidders time and time again. And I think that's one of the concerns that came up during this discussion, hence we had this report tonight. So I think the staff needs to be aware that we're, even in this document, this is from 2015, CDM Smith is on here a couple times. You have Christopher Burke's on here again. We're seeing, so like, for example, I know Christopher Burke got Fountain Square, got Sheridan Road. They're getting the traffic modernization project. They're getting a lot of these contracts. And if we have qualified vendors, and this is supposed to be a subjective process, why is it that we're seeing the same vendors winning the projects again and again and again?
Alderman Miller, members of the committee. In one respect, it is expertise and efficiency on the part of those vendors, and you would see them in a lot of communities. They are the experts in their field for municipal work, and so they're competitive across a lot of communities, not just the city of Evanston. Another reason you would see them is we also, and this is a process that there are fans and not fans of the process of RFQs, where we will do a request for qualifications and pre-approve our top 5 engineers for the next 3 to 4 years on a given set of bids. So,
I mean, in this case, we make a lot of, they might not, because there's the question of whether they're the lowest bidder, and then there's the question, are they the most qualified based upon our rating process, right? Or most qualified or responsive in that sense. I mean, because we've made a lot of time, there's been times where they haven't had the lowest bid and we've went with them anyways. And if you're saying based on the expertise, I want to protect the process and such that we're not always just paying more for the same bidder, because of their expertise in this area, et cetera. Because the other thing too is if you look at, the ratings, maybe they're off by 10 points. You might have 2 or 3 that are off by 10 points. So we should probably open this up more, make it a more, we shouldn't just be having Christopher Burke Engineering for every single major capital project in a sense.
Well, and with respect, they're not with every capital project. We do have a variety of engineering firms. And for instance,
I should say, I'm sorry, I should say above ground, below ground, water, et cetera. Because they're right, we do the water for one is, water is one that we use a lot. And then we have transit's a lot of Christopher Burke. So I apologize, it's not for every capital project.
And so per Alderman Rainey's request, as the new council goes through this, there is
The logic right now for how we have it set up, that price is worth 25 to 30%, depending on what we think is happening with the given proposal. Those can be varied slightly. What we don't want to do on the professional service contracts is look at trying to save the dollars there and lose the dollars in the actual construction, because we don't then have the engineers that are qualified to help us get the best construction prices, which are anywhere from 5 to 10 times the cost of the engineering services when we do them. So our goal is to have qualified engineers so that our overall construction costs remain as low as possible.
So, okay, looking at like Christopher Burke, why are they more qualified to get the better prices on constructions than these other firms that are bid?
Because of their market presence, we make that analysis, and that's in the form of their qualifications overall, that they are qualified. You have vendors who are in the construction trade who say, it's Christopher Burke. Okay, I can count on their engineering estimates to be on target. I can sharpen my pencil as the construction firm and say, I will bid competitively because I trust what they're going to bring to the table.
And the other bidders, there's not that market presence with any of them?
Well, but I didn't say that. I said that was your term before.
Well, I'm just saying,
what I'm saying is that when we do a competitive price, everybody has the same chance to win. So they are rated closely. And when Christopher Burke wins it, they win it. If we came to you as a governing board and said, we want to pick somebody else, we've had that happen the last 2 to 3 years where staff has been questioned for not following their own process. So if we want to change our process, staff will follow a new process. But
let me ask this too. The other thing too, and I know there's not many, minority-owned or women-owned engineering firms in Evanston. Right. I mean, there's just not too many.
It depends on, not in Evanston. Yeah, you're going.
But we do have other Evanston companies that have bid on these contracts as well. We haven't been awarding them to Evanston companies. So why is it that we're going? If we're still, I understand this is it's a multifaceted process, but we have firms in Evanston that would like an opportunity at some of these contracts, and we're not going to them as well because we keep going to the same companies.
We do give them a 5%. They do have the potential, if the pricing is within 5%, that the Evanston firm can win the proposal or bid. So there is that consideration for giving local vendors a chance, and that's something that can also be reviewed if we think that's not enough to make a difference. As I know that we've been working with MWEBE on that committee, the goal was to improve the amount of local vendors being used, and that the reinvestment in the community is worth that 5% and then some. So that's possible to adjust that so that there is the chance to get a larger local presence.
Thanks.
I have Alderman Rainey and Alderman Nguyen. I'm not sure which one went first.
Well, I'm pretty sure that if you take the last, let's say, 10 bids, 10 projects, where Christopher Burke was a bidder, you will find in those 10 projects that 5 of the other bidders in those 10 projects are the same bidders across the board of the 10 projects. In other words, 3, 4, or 5 of all the bidders on those 10 projects travel across all the same bids, and they fluctuate, and they're all qualified, and they are picked based on their presentation, their price. There's a multitude of reasons why one is picked over the other for one project or the other. Sometimes somebody performs better, and sometimes somebody doesn't, and sometimes somebody has somebody on their team that is simply more qualified to do the job, and that's the way it is. I don't think there is always an Evanston firm who can perform some of the projects that we have. I just don't think it is. And also, I think people like Christopher Burke, Inc., they have access to high-quality subs that not everybody else has. And the ones who travel across all the projects, they also have access to the subs that are high-quality subs, and that's very important.
Madam Acting Chair, just a follow-on to that. Evanston's of a size that we are allowed to, we have the market pull to bring in different engineers. A community like Wilmette or Highland Park or even slightly smaller will hire their engineer for the year. And the engineer is doing a lot of the work, including the bidding out of the construction. So the engineer is hired for 5 to 10 projects. And they pick them, in some respects, it's an outsourced engineering department. So we have both in-house, for instance, we do all of our water main design is done by our in-house engineering staff. But other projects are not. They're done by the various companies. But there are others. In my previous experience in Downers Grove, we used, you might use a Rempe Sharp or some others that haven't come all the way to the lake to do business. Where's their headquarters? Farther west, but still in the Chicago area. There are, to Alderman Miller's point, there are other companies that can do our work. So we can improve our outreach. Yes.
They have to apply first. Alderman Nguyen?
Well, I think there are a couple things. If you look at the bids, Alderman Miller, you can see if you read through all the bid documents, you can see how many people were sent bid documents, and then it's advertised too. And then the staff reports back on how many responses they got. So, I mean, the staff, when you look at some of these projects, they will mail out 20 to 25 vendors or 25 different companies a request for proposal, and then 10 will respond. And so much of that is market forces about whether, as Marty is saying, do they want to come to Evanston? And some of it is also, let me finish. Are they clustering projects near each other, because then they get an efficiency and of scale, so then they're able to do that. But I don't see that we are not having a wide variety, because I also see that we're getting greater and greater excellence, because there have been times where we have had projects done that didn't meet our standard, and that contractor is removed from the list. I mean, when they come back, our experience with them is that we've had problems. We have quality control problems with them. I can think of one in particular in my ward that we had serious quality control problems when they did streets and curbs. And we required them to go back out and redo them. Well, the next time they come in for a bid here with the city, when we talk about what is their competence is terrible. They get an F on that one. They should get almost no points, because we required them to redo the project. So I think the staff has a lot of expertise with all of these bidders, and then also we call their references. We call all of the other communities that they've done work in to get experience, to hear how they've done. So, I mean, I think the process is a good one.
You bring up a good point, though. I mean, so looking at page 180, okay, there's 3 contracts that CDM Smith was awarded. Okay, the number of bidders were 3 in one, 4 in the other, and 4 in the other. So, I mean, of these 3 contracts that were awarded to CDM Smith, I would assume, I don't know exactly, but I assume many of the same vendors or bidders were submitting bids for those 3 contracts, because it's 3 and 4 and 4. And yet, 3 times out of 3, we gave it to CDM Smith. See, I mean, this is the problem is that.
Well, I don't understand. If they were the best bidder, just because they've won an award from us before, does that disqualify them from?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
one? Because that's what it sounds like.
If you have a number of other people that are interested in these contracts, what's the point of them actually bidding on these contracts? What's the point of we having this ordinance if we're just going to keep giving it to the same bidders over and over.
But we don't just keep giving it to the same one.
we
The same
do.
one.
They earn
No,
it.
but the point is, you're looking at it the wrong way.
But if they earn it within 10
points.
points, let's say we have
Alderman Miller?
during the process, if we have during the process they're within 10 points of each other, how are you going to say that, CDM Smith is better than XYZ? We've gone through tons of these where we've done the subjective evaluation where staff has done it, and they've been so close among the subjective evaluation, and yet so they'll stop bidding. That's the point.
But they haven't.
But they haven't.
Well,
Okay. But also, you're looking at it and you're coming to a conclusion based on, seeing one result. We're also, but you have to look at it the other way. A particular contractor has done a better job of bidding. It's a bidding process. If one of the other vendors wants to do a better job, we give them, after the bids are open, you can come in and ask, what was wrong with our bid? What should we do to improve it the next time? These companies can come and say, okay, next time around, for Evanston, we need to do this. I mean, isn't that true, Marty? You can come in and ask, what was wrong with our bid?
We have follow-up after.
You can do that. So, these companies, if they say, okay, I want to get that contract with Evanston, I'll go in and find out after the bid was open, what was wrong with my bid? What was the difference? And I mean, we're not picking because we picked them before. We're picking them because they came through our competitive process.
We've received complaints about this process. And that's what we need to be aware of. Of course we've. So we need to be aware of this.
They can also, have we asked them if they've gone to a post-bid opening meeting to find out what was wrong? Have we asked them that? Have they attended them? Have they made any changes in how they bid? I'd like to know before I just believe their complaints.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, given the hour, certainly we would welcome the opportunity with the new council to talk about this further. I think it really is a component issue. A lot of communities have a much more subjective process than we do, and I think a lot of the folks I've talked to, people who have not been successful, and a lot of them say, well, it's my turn. Or I'm a resident of Evanston, why aren't you giving this to me? And so I think we just need to, check in with the new council. I think the report that you have before you is very complete and thorough. And as we're working with the new council moving forward, if there's a desire to change some of the issues, I can. And I just want to maybe just echo one last point. Certainly in the 8 years I've been here as city manager, the amount of difficulties that we've had with engineering and the design of plans and specifications has gone way, way down. And so I think the excellence that you're seeing has a lot to do with Mr. Stonebeck and Ms. Gibbs, managing this very, very good process. So we'll be happy to bring that back, Madam Chair, for the new council. And if there's changes that need to be made for the process, the objective process, then we're happy to do it at that point.
My point was that we showed them the process, not that.
And we do, and we're as transparent as any community. We bring to you, the city council, all of the scoring. Again, in my 20-some-odd years of doing this, this is the most transparent of any community I've ever worked. But again, being in the shadow of Chicago, there are some firms that we deal with who expect our process to be Chicago's process, and it's not. Our process is a performance-based, merit-based process, and we're very proud of it.
Seeing no other lights, and it has been moved in second. All in favor?
I don't even know what we're on.
We're on A through 11. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? A4. Alderman, you just did that one, right?
I did.
Yes. Alderman Miller.
Move approval of resolution 28-R-17, which is the release of city council closed session minutes.
Second.
I see no lights. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Rainey, A5.
We're being asked to authorize the city manager to grant an easement for steam, condensate, and irrigation service lines installation on Sheridan Road, and adopt Resolution 35R17 with Northwestern University for a 20-foot wide utility easement across Sheridan Road for a 50-year period, and assessing them a one-time easement fee of $115,000 $563.24. Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved in second, seeing no lights.
I
all
have
in-
a question.
Okay.
I have a question.
I didn't see your light. Did you have your light?
I
okay.
thought I did.
All right, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I'd like to know, we're charging them the fee charged to us, I believe it is, by MWRD, 0.67, 0.8 cents or something. I want to know where did that number come from, and why are we using that number?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Dave Stoneback, Public Works Agency Director. Prior to me being the director, the charges that we had for easements varied greatly, and there seemed to be no reasoning behind it. So we have an easement with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District for one of our water mains, and it's based on value of property, and they adjust it every year accordingly. And then we've had this easement for quite a few years. I forget how many it was. And then we just looked at what the average increase was over that time period for 8 to 12-year period, and it was 2%. And then we just took what they charged us initially at that year, and we increased it by 2% a year. So we're trying to match something that we can defend what we're charging for. And when you get an easement from the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, they do evaluation of the property and determine what the value of it is, and they adjust it on an annual basis and send us the invoice. So that's how they seem to have the experience in doing it, seem to make sense on how they calculated it, and we just want to mimic theirs and carry it forward.
And when was the last time they charged us for a new piece of property? I mean, what we're being charged for now are ongoing charges, right? If they're
Correct, but they look at it on an annual basis.
right. But have we ever had a charge on something new? Any new charge?
Not that I'm aware of.
So we don't know what they're charging somebody for the first time.
That is correct.
2017.
That is correct. I would believe that it's going to be the same price per square foot as what they're charging us in 2017, even though it's an agreement, because again, they redo the calculation every year, and it averaged to be 2% a year. It wasn't always specifically just 2% a year.
Well, that's a good explanation. Now I understand it. But I'm just thinking maybe someday we ought to do our own.
And we could look into that, yes.
Do we use this same 0.67 cents when we charge like RCN or Comcast or somebody for a utility easement?
We don't, by state law, they don't
We
have
can't
to pay
charge
that
them,
type of
and
an
they can
easement, no.
just do whatever they want, I see. Okay.
Uh,
Well, that's a bummer.
Yes.
So we can't just, we can only charge Northwestern, we can't charge.
That is,
Okay.
we could charge other private entities,
private entities. Okay.
ComEd with their franchise agreement, NICOR with their franchise agreement, and AT&T and other communication companies have state law
Okay,
that
I
allows
understand.
them.
All right. But I think at some point, we might want to consider what would be a charge we could charge somebody like Northwestern.
We will look into that before next year.
Yes,
and-
at some other time, not right now. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? A6 is Resolution 36-R-17, authorizing the city manager to grant an easement for electric and communication service line installation on Sheridan Road. This easement would be for 50 years and in the amount of $57,437. Move approval.
Second.
Second. I have another question.
All right, Alderman Rainey?
Yes, I was wondering if Mr. Lyons has a fund to where he's going to recommend we locate these newfound dollars. Do you know, I mean, we hadn't planned on this infusion of large numbers.
The easement funds have been put into the general fund. However, if you remember recently, last year we asked for some of those easement funds to pay for capital costs and then transferred them back out of the general fund. So they do go into the general fund, but staff has eyed them as one-time revenues potentially to help support capital projects whenever we get the opportunity.
But we didn't identify which capital projects.
We did. What happened with the previous easements funds, the bids came in very favorably, and we didn't use all of them. Mr. Stonebeck has got a better handle on the detail of that transaction than I do. But so it is one-time funds. We could put it into the capital fund as well, and then it would be used for capital. There's totally up to the council.
Good evening, Ed. Last year, staff requested, I believe it was $59,000 or maybe $120,000 of the easement fees that we have obtained to help pay for the special assessment costs on alley projects. That allowed us to complete, I think, 3 special assessment projects last year. The way the special assessment set up is that it's $250 paid by the homeowners and $250 paid by the city, and our portion exceeded, our engineer's estimate exceeded to $250, and to be able to move the 3 projects forward, we'd ask for additional funding on a one-time basis. It wasn't everything we received in easement fees last year, but it was a portion of it. And then in reality, because we had such favorable bids, we used way less than what we actually requested.
Mm-hmm. So we have a little.
And the rest
leftover
stays in the
pluses.
general fund.
Right, we should think about that. Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no other lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Nguyen, will you take the last one, A7, please?
Yes, staff recommends that the City Council adopt Ordinance 40017, amending the City Code, Section 71242, installation and maintenance of service pipe from tap to fixtures. This proposed amendment would promote the replacement of lead water service lines by residential property owners. I move in for introduction.
Second.
It's been moved in second, seeing no lights. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? This is for introduction. Any items for discussion?
Nope.
Any communications? May we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And we are adjourned.